We are 15 minutes away from opening our grain and livestock trade on this Thursday, but we have new information just coming out here, as it is every Thursday, all things considered, and that is the form of our weekly export sales numbers. Rich Nelson joining me from Allendale to kick things off on a Thursday morning. Rich, numbers, wow, if the trade was looking for some help, if somebody looking for some bulls in here looking for some help, they didn't get it in the export numbers, did they?
Best way of putting it here, no doubt. Now, in terms of the numbers on corn, a very minor 223,000 tons were sold here in the most recent week. Definitely a little concerning here for us. It was the lowest yet of the market year, and missing the estimates by quite a bit. Same, as far as the soybeans, that actually came in within expectations, 451,000 tons. And as a reminder for you guys, USDA did raise their soybean export number yesterday, and this also reflects it. We're still getting good sales. Numbers on meal actually were within expectations as well, 162,000. Oil was a little better than expected at 29,000. Now, as far as our focus on the grains, wrapping up this last part of it here, wheat side here, 249,000 tons, quite a bit of a miss, and in fact, lowest numbers I've got of the entire year so far since 2017 started.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, showing those numbers again, a marketing year low for wheat and marketing year low for corn. So as I mentioned, if you're looking for any of the bulls in here, give me some help in here. You know, they're not going to get it from the export sales.
That's exactly right. And once you're also looking at the other ones here, the minor issues we look at, sorghum, I've got it actually at 2,000, in fact, less than 2,000 tons. In fact, one of the weakest we've seen in some time. Cotton, 307,000 on that one. Not too much of a big surprise there. And I've got the rice end here, just a little under 42,000 here. So for the most part, you can call today's overall export sales neutral to maybe slightly bearish here for a couple of these products.
Exactly, yeah. Neutral, I would think, at best here. So looking at the trade, Rich, one day removed from the crop report here, we saw some demand numbers that pulled back from those the ending stocks numbers here, but now 24-hour, well, not quite, but giving the overnight to take a look at all those numbers. What kind of still sticks out to you?
You know, biggest things for me was the fact that it still told us that the long-term corn story certainly is an improving one. We're getting these stocks taken care of in the U.S. with new crop, not alleviated, but we're doing the progress needed to get this taken care of. Also, the low Chinese soybean stock, or low Chinese corn stocks from USDA was a good surprise there, too. On the soybean side, I got to point out, yes, we've got some concerns about an increasing crop and increasing stocks. But bottom line, this is not as bad as what people were expecting.
Now, CONAB in Brazil are releasing their forecast numbers here, and just looking at these here, forecasting, they're raising the forecast here to 113 million metric tons. Big crops get bigger in the U.S., and they get bigger in Brazil, too.
It sure does. And USDA just put their number for the same crop here, 111.6. So some people might argue maybe USDA is a little too low, but bottom line, yes, we've got plenty of supply here in the short term, and for the next couple months after we get planted, we can probably argue for maybe a little lower prices for the short term.
And I'm reading here, Brazil raising the corn harvest here to up to 92.8. So again, not surprising that the USDA put that corn in Brazil at 96. So again, there's a little bit of discrepancy there.
That sure is right. And I think most people will have this argument going on with Brazil as far as the exact numbers here for corn, because we still have quite a year left here, still get this corn wrapped up for late development and also a harvest of the second crop as well.
Rich Nelson joining us from Allendale, and we will be back. They have export numbers for beef and pork. We'll see how they compare with a week ago and the 4-week average. Get his thoughts in the livestock complex. We open up the markets here on this Thursday, coming right back. And again, about 10 minutes away from opening our livestock trade on this Thursday. Been an interesting week here, Rich Nelson from Allendale. As we look at the livestock trade here, we had expanded limits on the feeder cattle yesterday. They didn't hit the expanded limits, but certainly a lot more pressure there. Before we get to your thoughts in the overall complex, we did have export numbers this morning for beef and pork. Your thoughts on the numbers you saw?
You know, as far as the beef side here, I was a little disappointed. No doubt about the general tone of this number here for this morning on beef. Under 11,000 tons. That's actually the lowest beef export sale in 11 weeks. Also concerning for us, it's about 20% under last year. So this great story of beef export sales so far this year, maybe not quite as strong here now, and that might be a little concern for today's trade. Over on the pork side, I've got numbers of just over 17,000. Here it is, 17,600 tons here. This number on the pork side was about 4% under last year. So for both these ends, we did have a little weaker than expected export sales in the most recent week.
And you talk about weaker sales, no surprise. Many thought we would be pulling back in the cattle, cash, and dress trade, and certainly that was the case. Talk about late afternoon trades, moderate trade late in the day, and at least, what is that, $5, $6, $7 lower than last week.
Looks to be the case here. We've got numbers on the Iowa, for instance. I've got 138 and 224 dressed out. Over on the Nebraska side, same type of story, 138 and then 222. Reaching down south, you've got Texas and Kansas at about roughly 138 for the general average. So both those taking quite a hit off of last week's trade.
Very good. And then looking at we still have that up there, the cash hog and carcass hog trade. Wow, what a surge there, back over $70 here. In fact, 71.5 on the top side on a carcass basis.
And that's exactly right. What's been really interesting is as we've gone higher prices these past few days, we're actually getting a higher daily change as well. So we like the momentum of this cash hog and also cash pork trend now. Looks to be the case maybe the next week and a half, so we should still expect the same type of gains here. And
we watch the Iowa, Minnesota weights here, and week to week here, interesting, pretty big drop one week to the next, 1.5 pounds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're looking at 2 million hogs, that's a lot less pork.
It does. In fact, we've got some concern here now with there's some talk we might actually have one of the main plants in the U.S., not confirmed yet, off the East Coast, out of Virginia. One of these guys are even talking about cutting down here for tomorrow's run. Some people suggesting it might be because of its higher than expected hog supply, shown by that 1.5 pound drop in weights.
How about that? Well, and then we look at, finally, before we let you go, Rich, the dressed beef, the beef cutout, rather, just continues to work higher, not inch higher, but boy, a big jump again, over almost $2.50 higher again on the choice. That takes us back to August 21st of 2015.
Amazing move, no doubt about that. So we've got this futures market supposedly run by the bears now. We've got cash cattle breaking as well, and yet cash beef is still holding out and doing a heck of a job, still showing that the tight end-user supply is still an issue for us, at least for right now here. Now,
before we let you go, here's some suggesting that some of these cuts, they're being held up by one or two major cuts, and some minor medium cuts on beef are not moving nearly as fast, and they're starting to back up a little bit.
That kind of is true. We do have some which are really standing out. A good example, the 50% trimmings has been watched quite a bit here by a lot of people these past few days because of its meteoric rise in prices, which maybe have kind of artificially supported this wholesale beef market. But a lot of people suggesting maybe this next couple of weeks might see that dominance ending here pretty soon.
Rich, we're going to get things started here in about 5 minutes. We appreciate your leading us into that trade today, grain and livestock. Have a great day. Have a profitable day.
Great. Thanks. You too, Dan.
All right. Rich Nelson from Allendale. Keep an eye on that. Janet, we'll open her all up here in about 5 minutes.
All right. Get another day underway.
Exactly right.
Thanks, Mark.